All right, so this video is going to be a tip on how to save some money in the off season. So as you can see here, today in my game, the off season is starting. So that's one important date to keep in mind here. And the other important dates are free agent filings, which in my game is on 11/24. The date's going to vary depending on what season you're in and if you're playing Major League, Universe, etc. But just keep in mind that the off season starts, and then we've got the free agent filings a few weeks later, and then later on in the winter the Rule 5 draft. And if I'm not going to go over specifics of the Rule 5 draft in this necessarily, but if you have questions about what the Rule 5 draft is and who's eligible, etc., I have a video on roster rules that addresses some of that. But keep in mind, so this is day one of the off season. Free agent filings are coming up, and the Rule 5 draft is another day to keep in mind. So I'm going to go here to my team salary page, and here on the salaries, you have a bunch of guys who are on auto renewal contracts. And what this means is that, as you know, these guys are just going to be paid the league minimum next year, $564,000, and they'll continue on your team, and you don't need to offer them arbitration. They're not eligible for free agency. But the thing you want to keep in mind is that the time between when the off season starts here and when free agents file a few weeks after, these contracts aren't guaranteed for next year. So if you have guys here that are not going to be on your roster next season, the time to designate them for assignment and put them on waivers is between the off season and when free agent files. Because say this guy, Andrew Dashbach, say that I decide sometime later in the winter that I don't want him on my team. If it's after free agents have filed and I designate him for assignment, I'm on the hook for this $564,000 right here for the 2026 season, which is next season. But if I do it now, I'm not on the hook for that money. So let's look at the finances. You can see the money for free agents is 41.2, and the money for extensions is 35.4, right? So Dashbach is a guy that I'm going to be, I don't really see him coming back next year. He was on my roster because of some injuries, and I needed somebody who could play first base. So I'm going to waive and designate him. I don't think he'll get claimed. I think he'll probably remain in my organization and be in Frederick, not Frederick, Norfolk. But so I'm going to waive him. I'm going to designate him for assignment, and so now, if you go to my finances page, I now have 41.8 and 36,000 here. So my available money jumped up by that 564,000. Here you go. Here's Dashbach, and see he's no longer on the books here. So he might actually be a minor league free agent now. That's something that I'll check. But if he leaves as a minor league free agent, that's fine too. No big deal. It looks like he probably will, but that's fine. I can always offer him a minor league contract, and if not, I'll get somebody else to fill in first base in my minor leagues. Not a big deal at all. So again, remember how I said the Rule 5 draft was something to keep in mind on, because dog barking outside, I don't know if you can hear that. Because a time when you're going to be needing room on your 40-man roster is the Rule 5 draft. That's when you need to add guys. You need to add them before the Rule 5 draft to protect them. And by add them, I mean add them to your 40-man roster. You need to add them eligible Rule 5 players to your 40-man roster so they're not selected in the Rule 5 draft. And again, if you have more specific questions about the Rule 5 draft, check out that roster rules video I have. So say I had waited until the day before the Rule 5 draft, December 18th, to designate Andrew Dashbach for assignment because I needed more room on my 40-man for other guys. I'm on the hook for his $564,000 next season because it's after the free agent filing deadline. So to recap, if they're plan out ahead for who's going to be on your 40-man next season before you get to free agent filing. If there are guys that you're not going to keep on your 40-man for next season for one reason or another, and they're on these auto renewal contracts, get rid of them between the off season starting and the free agent filing. Obviously, if it's if they're on a guaranteed contract, you're on the hook for that money. But these auto renewals are not guaranteed contracts. So hopefully that helps, especially for people out there who doing this with 3 or 4 guys. You might save 1.5, maybe $2 million, and when you're a small market team like the Orioles here, that can go a long ways. So any questions about that, feel free to leave it in the comments.